Welcome to BARI Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip. How many weeks have we been doing this for, Shan?
31 now.
Okay, so Shannon just pressed the wrong button.
If something didn't go wrong, I would be like, whoa, what's going on? I'm so confused right now. Also, quick trigger warning before we start this. If you hear someone's got corona, also known as the flu. Yeah, there we go.
I'm going to try really hard not to cough. It's just really hard. And I'm also going to try and mute myself.
Yeah, maybe not, but you can. If I tried to mute myself, I'd end up pressing the wrong button.
I was going to say, am I number 2?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Let's do that. So yeah, what's happened this week? I went to my surgeon today to do my 3-year checkup.
Can't believe it's coming up to 3 years.
Crazy, 3 years. And I just love talking to my surgeon. Every time I talk to him, I learn something new. And I went in and all my things were good, even my liver, which is
surprising.
But no, like because I've been like actually being conscious of alcohol and not drinking as much as I used to. I was like, oh, how's it going? And he's like, yeah, no, it's great, perfect. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. But he did say that my white blood cell count is low, only fractionally low, nothing to be concerned about, and my iron is high. So he said, don't be concerned about it, but it's to do with someone else had it one time, and it's like you can be too high in iron, and it's like he took it or something. Yeah. I can't remember what it was. I'll have to find out.
But it's the opposite to getting an iron infusion. You're going to have to get some of the iron taken out. Yeah, but he had a name
for it, but it was like too big for me. I didn't know how to, But yeah, either way, I was like, I probably should have looked this up before we started talking about it.
You're a simple being.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, it's so simple. I'm like, iron, high.
Yeah. Take it out. Too much.
But if you ever want to get like your ego stroked, go to a bariatric consult waiting room. Because like you sit down there and I always try and start conversations, mainly because like you can tell which ones are coming with bariatric surgery, and I'm always like, how you going? Like, I like today the lady, I was like, I said to her, I was kind of like, oh, you in to see Garth today? And she's like, yeah, in to see Garth. I'm like, oh, like what procedure? And I'm like, I feel like that's a really personal question to ask somebody. Like, then she turns around and goes, gallbladder or something.
I was going to say, did she say gallbladder?
No, but she's like, she's having the bypass, and I was like, oh wow, cool, that's sick. Yeah, I'm in for my 3-year consult, and then she's like, oh, you've had bariatric surgery, and I was like, yeah. She's like, oh wow, like that's so great. How have you done? And I was kind of like, this is like the perfect place to come to see if you are an after, because people like go, oh my God, I would never have picked that you had bariatric surgery. I'm like, oh, that makes me cross.
That makes me so good.
I know. So yeah, either way, we do actually have someone on tonight who's revisiting us.
Yeah, bring back the guest.
Bring back the guest. So let's get her in, have a chat, catch up, What is it? Blow the whistle? I'm not sure what that is. I'm so freaking special. Have a chat.
Okay, well, tonight we're sitting down with part 2 with one of our previous guests. She's now 8 months down the track, 3 months after we spoke to her last time. We wanted to touch base with her to see how she's going with her journey. Let's welcome back Sarah. I'm so sorry. I just sniffled the whole way through that.
She goes, and welcome back, Sarah.
we gave you a trigger warning. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Hey, Sarah. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you guys?
Good. You're looking very healthy and happy, and it's great to see. I'm not going to lie.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've been getting that a lot. They're like, you look so happy.
Yeah.
And I didn't realise I used to not look happy.
Yeah, you kind of, how do you take that?
It's like a backhanded compliment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because it's not actually been until recently that I've kind of gone, well, yeah, do you know what? I was happy in what I thought was happy. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like I had a great life, great partner, great family, but I think like it's different when you're like happy in yourself and you wake up every day and you're like, bitch, you slaying this,
Mm.
It's almost like you haven't settled for a mundane life anymore. You've stepped out of that and you're actually enjoying every day of it.
100%. Well, I think one of the most important things for me was making the decision to have surgery. It was making the decision to be able to live my best life.
Yeah.
And I think that I've definitely been doing that in the last 8 months. Well, like probably the last 4 months because, you know, Corona.
You know.
But no, it's been great. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So last time we got you on, at the very end of the episode, we asked you what you weighed at the time and what dress size you were. So back in, well, I think it was 3 months ago, you were 133.7 kilos and you were roughly a size 22. Where are you at now?
I'm at about 121 kilos.
Oh, nice
and I'm pretty solidly a 16 to an 18 on top. And I got my first pair of size 20 straight sizes jeans from Kmart the other day. And we all know what Kmart sizing is like. So that's pretty exciting. Exciting. So yeah, I'm about probably an 18 to a 20 in the hips because I also have a pair of Target jeans and there are 20 that are now too big. So it's weird because I'm all over the joint with my sizes.
But you're probably learning that now. Well, we all already knew that. But as you start shrinking down through sizes, you realise just how inconsistent sizing is.
Oh, it's absolutely crazy. And so I bought something off the Iconic the other day, and I bought a jacket in a size 18 in a plus size brand, and it was too small. And I bought a dress in the same brand but the straight sizes version of it in a size 18, and it was too big.
That's so confusing.
I know. I was like, oh, I give up.
But I went into the shops one time. I think it was into JJ's or something like that, and I tried on a size 12 pair of jeans, and the pair that I had on, there was like a weird mark on it. So I went and bought exactly the same pair of jeans in the same colour, the same size, the same everything, came home and put them on, and they didn't fit. It's meant to be exactly the same thing.
And that's what I've got happening at the moment. I was lucky that someone gifted me 3 pairs of jeans a few months ago, and they're all Target size 20. And so one pair is currently way too big in the hips. There's another pair that just fit me, and then there's another pair that have no chance of doing up. And I'm like, I don't understand. You're all the same size from the same brand. What is going on?
Yeah. It just goes to show too that like there needs to be another way. Like obviously see how you're going with your clothing and how much you're shrinking out of them, but that can't be the only way that you're measuring things, because it just goes to show that, you know, you could wear exactly the same thing you could get the same size of everything and they could all fit completely differently. So
yeah,
women's clothing's funny like that though, isn't it? Because it's very like all over the park. Like, you know, males are pretty, you know, a pair of smalls is a pair of small in most sizes usually, you know, but I guess we don't usually wear them as fitted
tight
or whatever the girls are into. So
tighter the better.
Tighter the better.
The more they suck you in.
So 8 months through, how have you found the process? Is it easier or harder than you thought it was going to be?
I kind of feel like surgery was a really long time ago, but then I also have to remember that it wasn't that long ago as well. It was funny because on the weekend I spent so I had a school reunion, and 2 of the girls that I went to school with have also had bariatric surgery. One of them was about 2 years ago and the other one's about 5 years post. So we were talking about all our experiences, and it was really interesting to talk about, I suppose, the journey that we've all had and the things that we can and can't do, or can and can't eat, I suppose. And it was like, I said to one of them, I'm like, I feel like I'm eating too much food, which is kind of ridiculous. I've had to slap myself a few times and be like, no, you're eating a normal, I imagine a normal amount of food for a person with my size stomach. But it's just because I feel like for that first probably 6 months, it was such a small amount. And probably in the last 2 to 3 months, I've started to be able to eat that little bit more. That you do get that little voice in your head that's like, oh my God, is there any restriction left?
Yeah.
And then I look at like what normal stomach size people eat, and I'm like, yeah, no, you've got restrictions.
Yeah, and you'll find that it never gets less. Like I still do that these days, and I'm still like, you have big tummy day, little tummy day. Like some days I'll look at food and I'll be full. Other days I'll be like, da 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 da, and I'm like, wow, that was a lot. It was a lot compared to 1 week post-op, but not a lot compared to what I used to eat. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, that's the thing I need to remind myself that So for lunch, lunch yesterday, I ordered like a solid roll from the school canteen, and I ate half of it, and then I ate the other half for lunch today. And whereas normally I would have had that, and I probably would have had a snack, and then I would have had coffee. So that's one thing that recently has been, I've got to remind myself that no, actually it's okay. And I think because it's getting a little bit easier to also drink and eat closer to each other. That's been, I think, another change, especially probably in the last 2 months. That's been another change that's happened, but it's also good. I find I can drink and then eat. I can't eat then drink.
Have you had any like foamies or dumping or anything?
No, so I haven't had any dumping at all.
Yeah.
And I had the foamies fairly early on. I'm really fairly good at eating slowly and listening to my cues. The only time I find I fail on that is if I do go out and eat and I'm talking to people, or if I'm really hungry.
Because you mindlessly eat.
Yes, like today, I went to the gym. I hadn't really had too much of an afternoon snack, and so by the time I got home from the gym, I was like hungry and I need to eat dinner. But I'm like, no, don't eat while you're cooking dinner like you used to. Cook dinner and then eat. So, yeah, I haven't really had any of those times where I've eaten too much. I think there's probably been 2 or 3, but I haven't pushed myself to that point of needing to be sick or having major foamies or anything like that, which has been good.
For those people who don't know what the foamies are, essentially the foamies is like a little...
Like a thick saliva.
Yeah, it's like a bariatric vomit, but without vomiting. So it's when you overeat and you start getting like the sweats and you get real bad salivation in your mouth and you need to go and like spit your food out. I had it. Shannon and I went to a bottomless lunch. I don't know why we decided. That was me.
I voted against it.
Shannon voted against it. It was one of my best friends' like leaving parties / birthday parties, and we went to a bottomless lunch, which was all you could drink for 2 hours and a 3-course meal. Which I had a 3-course meal and Shan had a 3-course meal. Usually we'd share 1 course between the 2 of us. Anyway, we went to this 3-course meal, and after main and quite a few cocktails, I had to go to the toilets, and I was just hugging the bowl and I was just spitting out my excess saliva, like my foamies. And then I came back and I was like, right, okay, we're good to go. I'll have a taste of my dessert. And then I had to say to Shan, okay, well, I'm just going to go do a lap of Hastings Street because this ain't good. Like there's a very good chance I could vomit. So that's the foamies.
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, you walk a lot.
Yeah.
And look, I think I've only had it that bad once, and it was about 4 weeks out. And I was like, this is the worst thing ever. Yes. So since then, I've been really careful, and it's sort of like the foamies that I've had have more been like if I've eaten and then I've tried to drink too soon, and then it's kind of like food and drink want to come up, and I'm like, oh, that's not great.
And it's conscious eating. So like I don't know if your nutritionist said this to you, but like they were saying, don't watch TV, try not to like get distracted by it. Yeah. So like think about food when you're eating it. Otherwise, yes, you will have the eat too much, and then it all catches up with you, and it's like, well, bam.
And another good tip that I heard the other day was don't put food in your mouth while you've already got food in your mouth. So, like, finish chewing what you've got. It sounds
Solid
so simple,
advice.
but it sounds so simple. But, like, we'll do that. We'll still have a few, like, little pieces of food in our mouth, and then you put the next mouthful in there, and then before you know it, you've overeaten. So it's like a good tip is wait until you've got no food left in your mouth. Why are you
sounds like
laughing
such a
at
basic tip. It's almost like don't put your finger in your eye when it's open. Like, it just sounds like the most basic tip, but it makes a lot of sense.
But I think sometimes it's like, I don't know about you, but when you have a really good meal and you get really excited, you're like, I want the next mouthful. Yeah. And then you're like, I can't do that anymore. You have to just slow down. And I think another reason why I find it difficult, because for me it's more, when I'm out, it's difficult because at home I eat everything off a dinner plate. I eat everything out of a small bowl. When you go out, everything's on this big plate. And as much as you try to limit yourself, it's sometimes really easy to get caught up in just like, oh, I'll just have that and I'll just have that. So I've learned also to make sure that like I'm done, like put a serviette on it, move it to the other side of the table, feed my friends, like
that's what I do. I either put a serviette over the top so that the food's not physically sitting in front of me like tempting me, or the minute that I'm done, I ask them to put it into a takeaway container for me so that like I'll still eat it later, but I just can't eat it there and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to get good with just throwing out food. That was also my biggest thing. I never wanted to throw out food. So I had to just get comfortable with throwing it out.
And you know what? Really early on, I think the first time that we went out for dinner, which I think I was about probably 3 or 4 months post-op because COVID.
Love how you say that.
Never heard of it. Don't know what you're talking about.
No.
But you know, like because we often do go out for dinner, like probably once a week, maybe. Well, we used to anyway. But yeah, I remember the first time going out and I was like, I really want whatever it was. But I felt like I had to order whatever was on the entree meal or, you know, on a kid's meal or whatever. And Dan said to me, order what you want. It doesn't matter if you don't eat it all, if we don't take it home. But if you want it, order it. Like, it's fine. And so I think that's been a really good thing as well, because I don't limit myself to what might come in a small portion. I buy what I actually feel like eating or what I want to eat. And I've come to terms with the fact that I might be paying, you know, that I'll be paying full price for a meal that I will be throwing out. But also it was my decision to have surgery and my decision to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
so
if you're satisfied, you're
really
satisfied. You know, if you have order a big meal and you pay $19 for a big meal, but you get the satisfaction out of it from just eating a small part of it, it's still worth it. Whether you eat the whole plate or you eat 1/3 of the plate, you're still getting that satisfaction of, oh yeah, that was what I wanted tonight. That tasted good. That was exactly what I needed. So.
I went out for breakfast this morning actually, and I ordered like a normal sized meal, and the waiter came up to me and he was like, oh, you done? Like everybody else at the table was done and I'd only eaten like less than half of mine. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. And he was like, he just kind of looked at me, and I was like, oh, just because I didn't finish it doesn't mean that it wasn't a great meal. I was just like, I'm not hungry.
Here comes empath leader who's like, no, I don't want, it's not you.
I was like, it was a great meal. Like, I'm just not hungry.
Yeah, like it was delicious.
I had the same thing happen. I remember going out. It was about November. It was like for a work thing. Actually, it could have been even December. And I remember getting like calamari, and it was delicious. And even though it was the entree, I didn't look like I'd touched it. And so the girl came to pick it up. She goes, is it okay? And I was like, yeah, it was delicious. Thank you. She goes, are you sure? And I was like, I've had weight loss surgery. And she's like, okay, that's fine. I'm like, no, it was really good, thanks.
You're just
I
like,
don't tell anyone.
Literally when you tell the waitress.
I'm not bothered saying that.
Yeah. You're like, no. I've had weight loss surgery. This is going to just decomplicate the whole situation. What have you found has been the hardest thing for you?
Definitely hydration and dealing with the weather. I was never someone that was. I know that sounds really weird. It's really funny, but of course, like, you know, we do target shooting, so we spend a lot of time out in the elements. And having been summer, we've had some hot days, but even being out in the sun all day, you know, anything that's over about 27 degrees, I find I'm not heat fit anymore. So I have to take like lollies and hydrolyte and water and like sugar-free Powerade just to like get me through without fainting.
Wow, it's usually the other way around.
Yeah. Well, and I think I'm definitely starting to feel the cold now that it's getting colder here as well. The cold doesn't make me dizzy, whereas I find, because I'm still struggling with hydration, being able to stay hydrated enough on those hot days and still try and get food in at the same time, it's been really difficult. But hydrolyte isopoles are my ride or die. I will have, like, they're everywhere. I have them at work. I've taken them in insulated bottles when we go shooting so that I can have an isopole. Like, sometimes I'll have them before I go to bed if I'm not feeling very good. And Dan's really good at picking up on when I'm not right. He'll be like, okay, you need to have a hydrolyte or you need to do this or that. So, yeah, that's been difficult. Wow. But one thing it hasn't stopped, like, it doesn't stop me from doing gym stuff. It's more like extended amount of time when I'm in the heat, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because you're right. Like, it usually is the opposite with the cold. A lot more people, like, I guess, losing the weight, you become more cold. Like, I get like blue lips all the time, like all the time now. People are like, you like really cold, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm quite cold, but like I'm not blue lip cold.
I wear a jumper at work throughout all of summer, and it's like 34 degrees outside, and people come in and they're like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm freezing." They're like, "You should probably get that checked." Like, so it's usually the other way around.
Yeah, well, it was cool enough the other day, and I had the system on in our little office, and it was so hot. And I said to my poor office buddy, I was like, "Are you hot?" She's like, "Yeah, it's warm enough." I'm like, "I'm freezing," and I hadn't actually thought about it. She goes, "You think it's surgery? You feel the cold?" Where I was like, "That's it." And it was that sort of cold that, like, my hands were cold, my arms were cold. I was wearing a jacket, and I've never been a cold person. Like, I've always been a really hot person. So I think that these winters. But yeah, so I think this winter's definitely going to be interesting, but also on the flip side, I am getting myself sorted for that. I'm making sure that I am buying jackets. I honestly, I think for the last 2 years, I've owned one jacket, which is a denim jacket. Whereas I've already, like, I'm stockpiling jackets.
Yep.
I'm going to go buy some thermals. Yeah.
That was the thing that my surgeon warned me about when I first got surgery was, like, you'll save money on food, but you'll spend a lot more on clothing. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's example A right here.
It's worse for women too, because we actually like fashion. So
I love myself a good pair of stubby shorts, okay?
And for me, like, talking about fashion, it's been so novel to just walk into any store and buy clothes. Like, on the weekend, so as I said, like, I ordered something off the Iconic, it arrived, didn't fit, and I was like, I need something to wear to this reunion. And look, I could have pulled something out of my cupboard, but I wanted to look great, you know. And I literally just went to, Kmart, got a pair of jeans, and then went to a local store and bought a top that wasn't even, it was a small/medium in straight sizes. I was like, I had so many options, and so that has also been difficult. It's been a funny kind of difficult, because shopping, it's so hard to get out of my head that I'm not like a size 28.
Yeah.
So, especially because I do a lot of my shopping online, and I don't trust my measurements. So I'll put them in, they'll be like, "Yeah, you're a 16. I'm like, "No, I'm not." And then I'll buy the 16. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I am."
Yes, body dysmorphia, it gets you every time.
That was one example I used that time was when I went to put a shirt on, and because my hands were closer together, I was finding it really hard to understand that, like, it was going to actually go over me. So something else we talked about in the first, when we had you on the first time, was how you just want to be perceived as the lady with the red hair, you know, like, not the big girl, and how people perceive you. Have you found that that's changed a bit?
Yes, definitely. It's been really different this year as well. I've started a new job, so there's all these people there that only know me as this Sarah. Oh, there's -1, a girl who came from my old workplace. So it's been really odd to have people that know me as this, and I've had to say to a few of them, when we were ordering uniforms, and they're like, "What size are you?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And they'd look at me weird, and I've lost, like 55 kilos or something, and this was when I started. And they're like, "What?" And then I've got, like, a photo on my desk of me and a friend at her wedding in, it was like October 2019. And they were like, "Is that you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So it's funny that I just feel like a normal person and not, like, this big girl. Yeah, and the same thing on the weekend. I was looking back at the group photos. Actually, any group photo I'm in, I look back, and it's so weird to feel like I look normal and that I don't stand out and look like this little head on top of a potato. Do
you almost not recognize yourself in old photos though? Like, because you used to have, like, short blonde hair. I remember I asked you to send me, like, a before photo, and I was trying to pick which one you were. I was like, which one are you? Like, I don't even recognize you anymore. Like, you've just completely changed.
Yeah, it is. It's really weird to look at those photos as well. But also on the flip side, there's been times at the end of last year when I felt like I started to really lose weight across here and in my face. I remember the last day at my old workplace, I felt like I looked fit in a bit. I looked fantastic. And I had my contacts in and my ponytail, full face of makeup, all that jazz. And I remember putting the phone up to take a selfie, and I was like, "Oh, that's me." it's so weird to look at myself and be like, oh my God, that's what I look like.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you found, has anyone, like, because obviously you're quite open about your weight loss surgery and stuff like that. Have you had any interesting, reactions from people when you've told them about it?
Generally, everyone's just either interested or I can't remember having a negative experience with anyone. And there might have been a couple of people that just go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, and you overthink
like,
it.
oh.
Yeah. I'm like that all the time. Like when someone's like, oh, okay. Like, or when you go, oh, yeah, I've lost this amount of weight. And then they're, oh, how'd you do it? Oh, I had weight. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You're like,
but see, like a lot of the time, they don't ask how you did it. Like, especially recently when I've been, I've just recently lost this amount of weight. And they go, oh, okay. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, I had weight loss surgery in the middle of last year. And I go, oh, okay, all right. Because when I go, in the last 8 months or, in the last year, I normally say, in the last year, I've lost 57 kilos. And they go, what? Especially with, seeing as we're all at home and it's sort of the opposite for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and it sort of makes a bit more sense. But a lot of the time I'll get back from them, oh, my sister-in-law has had it, or my cousin or this or that. So it's quite nice to have those conversations with people. And, I'm all about breaking that stigma down, opening the conversation and all that.
Again, that lady I talked to today in the waiting room when I was waiting for my surgeon said that as well. She's like, because I said, oh, yeah, I've had weight loss surgery. She goes, it's just funny how, like, when you talk to people, because she's been saying to people, oh, I'm having bariatric surgery. Oh, yeah, so-and-so has it. So-and-so has it. And and that's what I said to her. I love, and that's the last thing when I got up to go in to see the surgeon, I said, I love how slowly the stigma is being broken.
Slowly.
Like, when people can just comfortably say, I had bariatric surgery.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where that was very frowned upon and it was very like, oh, judgy. And it's slowly just becoming such semi-normalized to a point that people can just feel comfortable with the decision they made to improve their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still seeing a lot of people, not a lot, but I still see it out there that people are embarrassed to talk about it. I get DMs quite a bit.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, I also get other DMs that are like, thank you for talking about it. You've helped me open up about my decision to have it with like my family and my friends, and you've made me feel less embarrassed. And I'm like, well, that's good. That's why I'm talking about it, because I agonized over making the decision for so long, and I held such a shallow and limited opinion of it for so long that, I want to be able to share and help people to help them realize that, it's an okay decision to make.
I love that you're so honest about like where you were opinion-wise on it prior and now, because that just emphasizes on, how people can perceive it sometimes not the right way, or and they can change them. It's okay to change your mind.
What was the saying that I saw the other day? Weight loss surgery isn't the easy way out. It's just a different method. So it's kind of like, it might not be for everybody, but if you choose to go down this path, own it, because it's what you need to do. Like, it's not the easy way out.
Definitely
it's bloody hard.
Yeah.
And I've said that so much. Like, it is honestly the hardest thing I've ever done. One of the most rewarding, but hard. And it is still only a tool. I found that out. This is one thing that the girls and I were talking about, the other two girls that have had surgery. We were talking about on Saturday night what our slider foods are. And I was like, Oreos. I found that I can eat Oreos like they're going out of fashion and like I have a normal sized stomach. And that's why I do not buy them anymore. So I don't buy the sleeves, because there are certain things that you can just, it's like there's no restriction, which is so weird. And if you, and those, the Smith's original baked chips, those 50% less baked chips that they've come out with at the moment, they're so good.
Sliders food. You got to be careful of the slider foods. They're the big ones.
That's why we just don't keep it in the house.
Yeah, literally, I can't have it within eye distance, or because then I just go, oh.
It's going to be very interesting, actually, because with Shannon, like, moving away, so I used to have this technique of I wasn't hiding food from Shannon. I would just put it out of his eyesight. So, because like if I could like have it sitting in the cupboard and thinking, you know, we're going to have nachos for dinner at the end of this week, so I'll buy a bag of Doritos so we can have some nachos. But if Shannon sees them at eye level, he'll just go, oh, snack. And then I'll come to make nachos later and be like, oh, damn it, that pack of chips gone. But on the flip side, I'm the kind of person that I'm like, I'll be sitting at home being bored and I'll be like, oh, I want twisties. So I'll go and I'll drive to the shops. I'll get twisties. I'll come back. But usually Shannon's the one that kind of goes, do you really need them? But with him not being here for a whole week at a time, I'll be like, he'll come home and it'll just be me like in a coma with like 20 twisty packets around me. Be like, what happened? Like,
it was funny because I was actually mentioning on that because I was driving to my surgeon today and I was thinking about like a few habits I'm still working on, and that's one of them is the because when I've been injured or I got hit by the car, being at home, I realize a bit more how emphasized a few of my habits are. Like, you know, the snacking because I'm bored. Eating things because they're there. Like, that's a big habit that I've been really trying to work on, and just walking away sometimes, like closing it and making that effort to walk away. Because otherwise, that's what I used to do in the past. It would just be like, you know, now I'm consciously working through that habit to try and break that down. You know, I'm still 3 years out and I'm still sitting there being like, I've got these little habits that if I don't get on top of them now, one day they could be a bigger issue.
And as much as I try and keep healthy snacks around the house, like you'll eat 2 or 3 tins of tuna sometimes a day because it's there and it's easy.
Or a few almonds.
Eating tuna and almonds is a lot better than grabbing for a pack of chips.
Pack
but
of
it's
chips
still that mindless eating.
Chocolate. 100%. Yeah, it's something to be conscious of, and that constant work in progress. That's what it's all about.
And that's it. It shows that it's mental. You know what I mean? Like, it's our brains.
It's
just
so
because they
ingrained.
cut out 3/4 of our stomach doesn't mean that it
fixes your brain.
Our brain.
See, the one thing that I've been trying to do now is when I go to the cupboard to like, the saying is you go to the fridge, you look in the fridge, there's nothing there. You walk back 5 minutes later, you look in the fridge again. Nothing is still there. Like, you haven't just miraculously filled your fridge with food in 5 minutes. So what I do is when I go to the fridge, I'll actually grab a glass of water instead. Because a lot of the time we mistake hunger for thirst. So if I go to the fridge every single time and have a glass of water, then I'm going to be getting my hydration up to reach my hydration targets. I'm going to be drinking water and actually quenching my thirst rather than thinking that I'm hungry. And then, you know what? If I'm still hungry 20 minutes later when I go back to the fridge, then there's a good chance that I actually was hungry. But it then also will get rid of, I was talking to somebody the other day about brain hunger compared to what you actually want. And so if you go to the fridge and you see an apple there and you see a slice of cake, and if you choose the slice of cake over the apple, it probably means that you're eating because you are eating for the sake of eating, not because you're hungry. So if you go for the apple first and the apple satisfies your hunger, then it means that you are actually hungry, if that makes sense.
Little top tip from the leader there.
Eat the apple, not the cake.
Speaking of food, you are quite the frequent going out at dinner person. Great English.
Good English there, Shan.
You like to go out for dinner. Let's just simplify
You're a bit of a socialite.
I try to overcomplicate things sometimes, and then it just becomes so overcomplicated. Have you found that's been harder? You did talk a little bit before about, you know, choosing the meals, but is it still an enjoyable experience for you?
It is. I always, I check where I'm going to make sure that I can pretty much eat anything if I'm honest. I haven't had too much trouble with anything, which has been good because it means that I'm not fully restricted. The only thing that, restricted to my choices, the only thing that doesn't sit well with me is rice. But if I had to eat it, I wouldn't die. It's just not particularly comfortable. So eating out's still been fairly enjoyable. The thing that I find hard is that, you know, you go out, you get a drink, you order your dinner, you have your drink, eat your dinner, have your drink. I'll get a drink and then have about 2 sips and my food will arrive and I'm like, I paid $4 for a drink and I've had 1 sip out of it. So I went out with my girlfriend, I know it might have been about a month ago, and I was like, can I get a kid's drink? And the girl behind the bar was like, yeah, sure. But she gave it to me in a plastic cup, like the little kid's plastic cup. So I'm sitting there with all my girlfriends and they got their big soft drinks and I'm there with my little Coke Zero. This little plastic cup. But yes, I think that's been the hardest thing. And like mum and I went away to Geelong on a little holiday in January. And going out for breakfast, it was really difficult making the decision to eat or have a coffee, not both. So just like habit things like that. But I'm still enjoying going out and eat. And as I said, like Dan and my friends have been really supportive and really helpful. You know, they'll be like, I'll share this with you, or they'll eat my leftovers, or you know, they'll like get an entree so then they can help me eat mine if we don't want to like waste something, or Dan will share his with me. So it's been really good, and none of them have ever judged me for the amount that I'm eating, or
that's what you
not
need.
eating, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what you want. You don't want to feel criticized because you are eating a little, or you know, you're already going through your own little process over that plate. So
I want to know where you go out, because two things that you said there then, that you've ordered a $4 drink. I'm guessing you're not talking alcoholic drink, because if you can get an alcoholic drink for $4, I want in. And also
a soft drink.
Yeah, and also if that's the little alcoholic in me coming out, give me a $4 glass of wine. And then the second one is you said you order your drink and then you have 2 mouthfuls and then your food comes out. Where's that kind of service? Like usually here you order a glass of wine.
She didn't mention it takes 20 minutes to get the drink.
Yeah, this is true.
Our local pub, I swear to God, Dan and I went there for dinner the other day and we were in and out within about 35 minutes.
Whoa, wow. Okay.
Like, yeah, they are super, super quick. And what did I get? Dan got a Parma, I got something else. I can't remember what it was. But literally we ordered and had our meals in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And they were busy enough. They were just sufficient.
Because that's what I was going to say. I usually, like, whenever we go out, we kind of, like, order a round of drinks first, whatever it is that you're drinking. And then when you're sort of halfway through the drink, they come out and they take your mains order. So by the time you've finished drinking that first drink, it's been about 20 minutes between the drink and the food, which for us now is like more than enough time to eat and drink sort of thing, because you kind of process things a little bit faster. But yeah, that was I was just like, Jesus, how quick is their service if you can have 2 mouthfuls and it brings the food out?
Yeah, it's not all the time, but you know, it's, I have been finding a lot of the time I'm like, okay, I needed a bit more time before you brought my food out. Good job on the service, well done.
You're like, you're a little bit too efficient.
I'm working on my entree called my drink.
Have you found that exactly. What you order on the menu has changed since surgery? Have you changed the way that you look at food since surgery?
Yeah, I find that I look at seafood a lot more.
Yep.
So I find myself having a lot of calamari or prawns. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because often they are, like, you can get a proper meal but an entree-sized meal.
Yeah.
So as much as I said, you know, I don't always look at the meals because they're small, like, it is often really handy. Oh, that's what I had the other night. I had prawns. So obviously they don't take very long to cook, but they are also a really good protein source.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, sometimes I'm like, I might only have a few mouthfuls, but I still want to order pasta.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's or sometimes I'll have like a little corner of Dan's Parma.
Yeah.
But I'll eat his salad. So
and then I'll drink his drink. And he has no choice in it.
Yeah, basically. Look, he's been fantastic.
Top tip. I ask around the table, what are you ordering? What are you ordering? What are you ordering? And then by the time it gets to me, I'm like, sweet, well, I'll have just a side of chips because I'll have a mouthful of everybody. No.
Yeah, you're like, what's that taste like? Can I have a taste?
Can I just have a taste?
Yeah, what about that one? Can I have a taste of that one?
So I'll just get 2 oyster Kilpatricks for my main thank you. And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, because I'm just going to have a mouthful from everybody else's plate. It's fine.
Exactly. I went out with some friends a few weeks ago and I got like some prawn thing. But one of the girls was like, oh, yeah, I'm getting myself a bowl of chips. I was like, can I have 3? She's like, you can have as many as you want. I'm like, no, all I want is 3.
I'm putting my order in now.
I just want the taste. That's all I need, just the taste.
So we were speaking about you go out and you know, get your drinks. Have you gone back to alcohol yet, or?
Yes. So I probably started going back to alcohol around November, I think.
Yeah.
December was a very social month for me.
What does that mean?
Especially just before Christmas. I kind of went a little wild. I had like my going away party with work, or like the last day drink, and then like the next day I went out clubbing or like to the pub with Carly, and It was really good fun because I felt really young and everyone told me that I looked really young and I was like, oh, thank you. But it also just felt really good to be feeling myself and being able to have a few drinks. I find that, and it's funny because I've spoken to a few people and I expected that I would have like a drink and get blasted. And I've spoken to a few people and they're like, sometimes I'm like that, or sometimes I just don't get drunk at all.
Yep.
I don't feel it at all. For me personally, I find that I hit like this happy medium. You know, when you get to tipsy and everything's fun, you're happy, you're like on top of the world, but the world hasn't started spinning yet. When I have a few drinks, that's where I'm at and that's where I stay. And it's actually really great.
Oh, wow.
So when I say a lot, like I don't drink regularly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it still fits really well. And I, funnily enough, feel like I can eat more when I'm drinking alcohol, but I don't know if that's just like a psychological thing. Like one night I had a cheeseburger from Macca's.
Wow.
At like 2 a.m. and I nearly finished it.
Oh,
But
jeez.
and look, I know I should be, but like I'm balanced. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Yep.
People post surgery, we can drink alcohol, we can drink fast food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that we often don't show that. It's like, oh, I eat carrot sticks and salad. And I do eat carrot sticks and salad. I'm actually proud of myself because before surgery, I never ate carrot sticks and now I do. So go me.
Go you.
Go me. But yeah, so I would be able to go out, have a couple of drinks, drive home. Now I'm very much like, nah, unless I know I'm going to be there having a meal and like 4 hours later and only have one drink, I'll just not drink at all then if I'm going to drive home because I don't know where I'd be at. Whereas before I'd know that I could have like a cruiser an hour and I'd blow zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with the alcohol thing, I had a conversation with my surgeon today because he said a statistic today and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a large portion of alcoholics are developed from weight loss surgery because it's something I've been noticing a lot lately and like people's relationship with alcohol definitely, like I know personally is why I had to stop it because I found myself drinking every day.
Yeah.
I was almost drinking more excessively after bariatric surgery than I was prior to surgery. So it's something I wanted to touch on a little bit this like in this episode, but purely because I'm seeing it more and more, especially during COVID and stuff like that, and people are drinking more often. I think it's something we need to be very conscious of and not just dismiss it as drinking, because you can develop real bad habits to do with drinking, and it's a statistic that we are more likely to.
I'd love to know what that actual statistic was.
Because my surgeon said it today, and I was like, because I was saying about with how I've stopped after the liver test. I said I'm cutting back on drinking because I found myself drinking too much, purely not because I wanted to, but because I felt like it was just becoming part of just my daily routine, and it was becoming an expectation from others to drink whenever I went out.
Even Tara last week said that her transfer addiction was
To alcohol.
Yeah,
because that's kind of what led me down that. And when he said this today, like it's a very big statistic that a lot of people develop that, like this bad relationship with alcohol after bariatric surgery, because I guess they're looking for that stimulation. The food may not give them as much. So they transfer it to alcohol. So, as much as we're, talking about, it's fine to have a drink. It's fine to have a drink. As long as it's not excessive binge, what you used to be with food. As long as it's not becoming an issue. Because I know for me, I had to really check it. And I've seen other people who I'm kind of like, they need to check it as well. But it's not my place to say it. So I just something I'm putting out there that, don't let your transfer addiction be to alcohol.
Yeah. But also with alcohol, like you just said, you went to Macca's because you'd had a few drinks. I did that one time after a music festival, and I wasn't that drunk. I had quite a few drinks, but I've been drunker. But I went to Macca's and I was the same. I was like, I really want a cheeseburger. But not only did I order a cheeseburger, I ordered a small chips as well. And somebody that I was with was like, Alita, you're not going to be able to eat all of that. And I was like, no, but I will. I'll be able to do it. And I got I think I had one chip and a third of the cheeseburger, and I was like, I was done. And I'm like, why? Why did I think I could do that?
I did the same. I ordered a small cheeseburger meal, and I probably had one sip of the drink, 2 chips, and about 3/4 of the cheeseburger.
Yep.
And I was like, why did you do that?
Yep.
But I think that I've seen that statistic as well about alcoholism post-bariatric surgery. And I think that it is a really important thing that we need to, and I think as a community, be really aware of. And I'm not sure whether it's partly, I don't know, I think post-weight loss surgery, or when you've had a transformation and you're starting to feel good about yourself, you often want to go out and do the things that you didn't do pre-surgery. And I think that can feed into drinking more because you are going out and doing more. For me, like, I wasn't really a big drinker before surgery, and I'd binge drink here and there, but maybe like once every 6 months. But yeah, I think it's something that we really need to be just aware of, because alcohol is still empty calories, even though it's easier to get in.
Yeah.
And I think that's, something that we forget, and that we can still have fun without alcohol. I've never been one that really bought into the peer pressure of it, especially in the last few years, because where I live, it's easier for me to always drive. So I'm used to being like a deso or not really drinking when all my other girlfriends drink. So I think that for me personally, it's neither here nor there if I drink or not.
Yeah, I think it's just acknowledging it, because you're right. It's empty calories, but also it can become an issue further than, the weight. Like it can really, alcoholism is something to be very, very wary of. So, yeah.
But I also want to just quickly, before we get off the topic, like when you were saying that you kind of just get this really happy sort of tipsy level, I know that when I first started drinking, I was like what we were saying before, you either get really drunk or you get, like, you almost don't get affected by the alcohol at all. Like, I was always the chick at the party who I'd have one glass of wine and everybody would be like, whoa, she hit it hard before she got here. And then like 5 minutes later, I'd be sober Sally again. And then I'd have another drink and I'd be like drunk as again. Then I'd be sober Sally. And people were like, is she bipolar? Like, is she okay? What's happening? And then it kind of like leveled out over a certain amount of time. But now I find that it hits me way harder. And I'm 3 years out now. And it's almost like I just didn't know what to expect. But now, and I tell people all the time, 2 glasses of wine and I'm not drunk, but I just black out. I can't remember. Like, there was times where I'd have 2 glasses of wine and I'd wake up the next morning and be like, what did I have for dinner last night? Like, I cooked dinner, I did the dishes, we watched a movie, but I couldn't remember any of it. So, like, I wasn't physically drunk. I wasn't running around like a lunatic. It was just you black out, and that's the dangerous part.
Well, that is. That's
remembering almost, the night beforehand.
That's almost showing trauma to the brain. Like, because you're absorbing alcohol. Like, it's said that, like, after bariatric surgery, you absorb alcohol more. That's why you shouldn't drive once you drink. So as much as you may not feel it and you may not see the reactions, is it still absorbing and doing the effects to your body that you're not really seeing? Because that was the same for me. Like, I would go from tipsy to blackout. Yeah. Like, not blackout, like I wouldn't remember portions of the night. And that's where I was starting to, because I've never been like that.
Well, there was somebody in the very early stages, I can't remember, maybe it was one of the Laurens. She said the same thing, that she was sitting there doing shots and drinking one for one with everybody else around the table, and then she stood up and she was just done, way too drunk. So
yeah, how's your mindset going with everything? Like, are you finding you're adapting well mentally to the whole process?
Yeah, it's just like normal life now.
Yeah, and
I actually think funny, because on one hand things are tricky and there's been things that have, I suppose, tripped me up along the way, but also on the other hand it just kind of feels easier than I thought it would. Like, I kind of expected that I'd have to take my own food everywhere and always be, organised.
Yeah.
But even when I'm not, I'm still able to make proper choices, as I said yesterday, I hadn't done groceries, so I didn't have anything to take for lunch to work. So I just got a sandwich, and it gave me 2 days. It was great. And even if I have to go somewhere and do that, and I have to throw half the sandwich out, I'm like, well, I'm still being able to make a choice. I'm still able to, like, I don't have to pack my own food.
Yeah. You can adapt.
Because I was thinking that, on a weekend when we'd shoot, that I'd have to pack my lunch. I don't. I can just, choose the options that I have there. Yeah, and like I still can, but it's also nice to know that there's more flexibility than I thought there would be.
Yeah.
So
it's
within,
not as
like,
restrictive.
In a really good way.
Within 8 months, you've sort of slipped back into sort of normal. Not back in. That's the wrong word to use. But it's almost become a normal life for you again.
You've adapted to
Yeah.
the life you had, but with the new plumbing.
Which I think is a really important thing to like really.
Plumbing.
Yeah, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really important point to make, is that, you know, it doesn't take, it's not like you're years out trying to figure it all out. Like, we are still years out trying to figure some things out, but it does happen quite quickly that you do fall into what is your new normal, so to speak.
Yes.
I feel like the last 2 months, 2 to 3 months have been a real turning point where I've started to feel more normal.
Yep.
And it has caused some concern for me, being like, as I said before, you know, am I normal? Am I a normal at this month, at where I am in my journey? But I've also come to realise that everyone is different.
Yeah.
Everyone's restriction is different. Everyone's tolerances are different. The other thing, I wasn't able to tolerate water for a really long time, but literally in the last month, I'm able to have plain water again, as long as it's really cold.
Yeah.
Which has been good, because that was one thing that was annoying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, a lot of people do say that, like, you know, having to find that
balance
for water, because it's been a struggle for a few people actually that we've talked to.
I think that's also a really good point to make, though. Like, that's why we always emphasize on how it is so important to put these habits into place in the first 12 months, because, you know, you're 8 months out and you've already slipped into what you class as normal, which is great. But if you haven't put those habits into place by now, then, like, you know, if you're sneaking your cheeseburgers once a week, and if you're sneaking, you know, 3 glasses of wine once a week, then that's going to be your new normal, which isn't necessarily amazing. So a few months ago, we talked about some of your goals, and we've already spoken about how far you've come since then. But how are you going with your goals now? Do we need to point out the fact that you've now got a new shooting vest? Because that was a massive thing that we spoke about last time. But how are you going with your goals, and what's going on there?
So I think, yes, I do have a new shooting vest. It's 2 sizes smaller than my last one, and incredible. I can fit a jumper under it, so it still actually has room in it. But I think my goals have changed as well. So I'm not focusing so much on my weight anymore. I'm trying to focus more on my fitness and my body composition instead. So even though I'm paying attention to my weight, and I still sort of I have that goal of wanting to get under 100 kilos. My initial goal of wanting to get that under 100 kilos before my 6 months, I'm not actually so worried about. So at the moment, that would mean basically losing 22 kilos in 3.5 months, which is not, some people could do it. I don't think I can, but I'm also not bothered about it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in the last, probably the last 6 weeks, I haven't had a lot of change on the scales, but I've had a lot of change in size.
Yeah.
And that for me is more important, and fitness. So, like the other day, I was able to umpire 2 games of netball, one after the other, and I was so terrified that I would not be fit enough. And I did it. And I was like, okay, that's awesome. That's good. I know that now. Yeah, so they're the goals I'm focusing on at the moment.
Great goals.
And feeling strong. And it's just amazing to know that I can trust my body to do what I need it to do.
Yeah, that's so great.
For a long time I couldn't.
Yeah. No, I think it's really good that you've got to that point already, because I know I personally was like a year and a half out, still very focused on fitness and losing weight, and then I didn't turn off. Yeah, because some people, like, you know, it's very normal to get addicted to losing weight, and, you know, for me it was coming at the jeopardy of losing muscle, because I didn't make that transition and balance early enough to understand that if I had fitness goals, I needed to maintain muscle, and there was other things more important than losing weight. So, you know, to have goals in mind and fitness goals, it means you're probably going to make choices now that are going to lead you in that direction and less likely in the weight loss. And that will just come as a side effect to the healthy life you're living.
That's it. And it's definitely been since I've ramped up my training that the weight loss has slowed. But I also know that there's a correlation with that, and that's why I'm not bothered, because I can see more tone in my body, and I lost a lot of muscle after surgery, and that's something that I wanted to be able to get back as quickly as possible, and then to be able to continue working on that. So yeah, that's why I was kind of like, it's more about body comp than weight. And like I'm doing the Anytime Fitness 12-week challenge at the moment, but it's more just so I can actually concentrate on my training. We did a body scan at the start, so I'm actually really interested to see what my body scan will be at the end as well.
Yeah,
So cool.
That's a good way to gauge it, I reckon.
Yeah.
The body scans.
Yeah.
Gives you more realistic.
And I think I'll probably, I think it's something that I'll try and keep up with at least, I don't know, even every 6 months just to see that change.
Yep. Yeah, so in another 3 months from now, when we check back in with you, what are some of the goals, not even weight related, what are some of the goals you have in mind that you want to achieve in the next 3 months?
So I think I still do have weight goals. By 12 months post-op, now I'd be happy to just, if I could get to around the 110, I'd be happy.
Yep.
At the moment, I'm so close to getting in the team. Tomorrow's weighing day. I don't know if I'll have lost. I don't know, whatever, if I haven't. But also, it's weird to be, it's like 121.9, I think I am at the moment. And it's so weird to see that 121 and know that 2's nearly gone. Like the last time I was this weight, it was when I met Daniel, like 11 years ago. It's crazy. Wow. And just, I suppose, more fitness goals. I'd like to be able to run for a bit longer. I never thought that I would say that, but I've been doing a bit more running on the treadmill. And I know. But also being able to get back into umpiring netball, I need to be able to have that leg fitness.
Yeah, stamina.
And and the stamina. And I also still really just need to knuckle in and get my hydration balanced, because it's not at the moment. So, but I know they're all pretty simple goals, but
life goals.
I've still got the things. I've still got the things that I want to do. Like we're going to the Goldie in November, so I'm excited just for a weekend. But I'm so excited to have my ass sit on rides, because I know that it's gonna feel. I don't know, just living life at the moment. I
love it.
Yeah.
That's it. Take the accomplishment from all the little goals. Like, we always say scale. Don't focus so much on the scale, but take the accomplishment from the scale, those little digits moving down. Take the accomplishment, being able to tie your shoes without holding your breath. Take the accomplishment from whatever the minimal task is, and you will you'll keep that forward momentum, that fuel pushing you forward.
I found out yesterday when I was at the physio that I can touch the ground basically with my palms when I bend over. Like I've gone from not being able to bend over to tie my shoelace up to be able to hands on the ground.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's just, and I think my stomach isn't in the way anymore. And being able to look down and have vision of areas I couldn't see before.
That's it.
Because my stomach's not in the way.
That's what I mean. Like you got all those little accomplishments, mobility accomplishments, activity, sexual accomplishments, all the accomplishments, enjoy them and use that fuel to keep moving forward.
Most recent accomplishments that I have just lent into and run with now is that I never wear a top to the gym. It's literally just leggings and a crop.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it feels so good, and I give zero fucks about what anyone might think about me. And if anyone had anything to say about it, they can come at me, because I know what I'd say back to them. But I love it, and I embrace all the jiggly. Like I've obviously already got a lot of loose skin happening, and that has been confronting. But I've been working really hard on embracing all of that as well, because for me, it's just another badge of honour that I have to live with now, I suppose. But I try to look at it positively rather than the fact that I am carrying it around everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. It's very easy sometimes to focus on the negatives if you want to look at the negatives, but look at all the stuff that you can do now. Because the loose skin is something that
Well, we say it all the time. We use it as a trophy, and unless it's for us personally, unless it's causing us medical issues, skin irritations and all that sort of thing. But what do you say, Shan? If somebody can't love you for what you are, then like what you or your past was, then they shouldn't be able to love you now. And that goes hand in hand with your loose skin. Like if somebody's so shallow that they don't like his loose skin, well then they wouldn't have liked him at 175
kilos. If they look at you
kilos.
and they can't appreciate the person standing in front of them because of a little bit of loose skin, they wouldn't have appreciated you prior, and they don't deserve to be able to appreciate you. And
it's funny, like I was a bit nervous about it. In regards to, you know, with Dan, and I remember saying to him, because your body makes a lot of different noises when you've got loose skin. Yeah. And I was like, does this bother you? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay, that's cool. We just need to have that conversation so I can move forward. And if anything, like he obviously loves me at my biggest, but if anything now it's been really lovely to have him also embrace the way that I am now. So that has been really nice. Yeah. I love Dan. Just keep embracing my body as it changes. Do you know what? It's really funny. I don't talk about him a lot. No one really knows a lot about him. And I had someone say to me on Saturday night who follows me, they were like, oh, I thought you guys had broken up there for a while because you never talk about him. And I'm like, it's because he doesn't do social media. He has, you know, his own life and life, but we are honestly stronger than ever. And I could not have done all of this without him. And without Mum, without Carly. That's it. Like I haven't seen a lot of him, but by the words that you say, I can tell that he makes you happy and respects you. And
your face lights up when you talk about him.
That's it. He's an A in my books if he can make a woman feel that way. So.
Well, lovely.
He's my best mate.
We could talk to you for hours and hours on end, but I think we need to keep some topics for when we touch base with you again in another 3-4 months at your big 1 year surgiversary. If you're happy to jump back on, probably after that we'll stop harassing you quite as often, but you can get back to your normal life. But we'll follow your story for the first. We can drag it to
6 months then, or even
Well, I can't believe it's been so quick since I spoke to you last. When you messaged me, I was like, oh, yeah, it's just a little check-in. And then you're like, so it'll take about an hour. I'm like, oh, we're at that one.
Yeah.
So you can talk to me as much as you want, whenever you want.
Sounds good. We will do.
When Shan's away and we need just like a filler episode, I'll be like, oh, we'll just call you back. And
So how's the last week been?
You'll just become our new co-host.
Yeah, literally.
Well, lovely. Your smile, I didn't think that it could happen, but your smile's gotten brighter. Your eyes have gotten bigger. You're just so much more of a bundle of sunshine than what you were before. So, love you. I don't know what else I can say.
Love you guys too.
Yeah. Check back with you later.
That's another episode of Barry Banter.
Well, yes, that is another episode of Barry Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.